Welcome to the Carolina Business Leadership Show, where we share real conversations with business owners and leaders across North and South Carolina. I'm your host, Aubrey Fitzloff, agency owner, team leader, and someone who believes business is built on relationships, not transactions. Each episode, we bring you practical insights, leadership lessons, and real stories from the front lines of running and growing a business in the Carolinas. Let's get into it. Today's guest is someone whose work you've probably seen before, maybe even on your own LinkedIn profile photo. Michael Woodland is the founder of Essential Headshots, a Columbia, South Carolina-based photography business that's redefining what a professional image can communicate. After serving in the military, Michael discovered photography almost by accident, but what started as curiosity quickly turned into purpose. His disciplined background, creative eye, and deep belief in helping people feel confident in front of the camera have helped him build into one of the most trusted photographers across the Carolinas. Michael's story is about more than pictures. It's about perseverance, community, and the power of showing up as your authentic self. Michael, thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me. And that introduction was like a wow. That was very impressive right there.
Well, it probably helps that you and I have a friendship outside of this,
Yeah.
so I can speak on you a little bit more personally than I have been able to with some of my other guests.
Yeah, I get that. I totally get that.
Michael, your path to photography started almost by accident, doing a product review video after leaving the military. When did you realize this could become more than a creative outlet and evolve into a business?
Well, everything started in a photography class. So when I first got out of the military, I was doing firearms training, and I was linked up with USCCA and the NRA and doing shooting competitions, just traveling around the nation doing that, and had a couple sponsors. And one of the contracts I had, the main sponsor, it had it written in there, whenever they wanted a product review video, I had to do it. So I did a product review video. They fell in love with it, and they came back and said, hey, we want pictures, but don't use your cell phone. Okay, cool. All right. All the cameras I got for the YouTube channel, that's easy. That's just a flip of a button, put it on camera, take pictures. That's when I realized I didn't know how to take a picture. So I ended up going to the community college, signing up for a photography class. The photography class was 3 months long. Well, during that 3 months, every day the instructor, he would ask, like, hey, what do you want to take pictures of? What is your passion with photography? Every day I don't know. I just know I want to take pictures of people. And halfway through that class, because the class was from January to March, around about the February timeframe, it was a female in the class that needed a headshot. And she went to the instructor, and the instructor was like, no, I'm not going to give you a headshot. But the instructor turned around and said, hey, who wants to give her a headshot? About 4 of us raised our hands. She frowned her nose up and then came back and said, like, no, I'll pass. From that moment, I was like, hey, I'm gonna make you wish you would have came to me for a headshot. And that's where the passion like drove forward after that.
And you've done work for my own staff, so I know that she has missed out on that opportunity.
Yes, yes.
Michael, your military background shows up clearly in how you approach your work. How has that structure and discipline influenced the way you run your business day to day?
I actually look at my business as if I'm running a platoon in the Army, the best way I know how. The only difference is it's just me, and if I bring a couple people in to help me out, it's the same format for me. So, I follow my values, we follow warrior ethos, and it's just a mission. So you got 3 points you got to do to make the mission work. Let's make it work. And then if it doesn't, we check it off the block, we come back and do something else, and hopefully that'll work.
You've said that a headshot is more than just a photo, it's the fulcrum of that first impression. What makes a powerful image stand out to you?
Oh man, the connection between the character and personality of the person coming through the picture. Because how many of us actually look at a picture and we look at all the faults before we actually give it positive critique? And I know I'm guilty of that by a long shot. What makes a great picture is if you can capture that personality and character. It shows through who that person really is versus all right, on the count of 3, say cheese, and then you get that fake smile, whatever. But if you can actually deliver it and make it a stronger picture, it makes that person more personable when they display that picture for whatever their branding needs are.
Well, many people feel uncomfortable in front of the camera. What's your process for helping your clients relax and let their authentic selves shine through?
It's never the same with each person. So if somebody comes in and I don't know them, it's easier to get them to unwind versus like if I bring you in front of the camera because we personally know each other, it's going to be a little bit more difficult because you don't look at me in the light that other people look at me. So it's a person by person situation. Through conversation, I'm looking for anything that I can trigger that makes that connection between us a true investment. And from that investment, that's how I elongate on it and make it long.
Michael, you launched Essential Headshots just a few years ago and have already become a go to photographer in Colombia. What do you think has driven that momentum?
Trust and word of mouth. People come in, they get the picture, they actually see what they're getting, the experience that I give between the one on one interaction between me and everybody, and then the final product. So when you take all three of those elements, combine them into one, it's pretty much the essential headshots experience, but it builds trust in the process of once you go to the website to when you walk out of the door from your session.
When we chatted about you coming on the podcast, you mentioned that early on you spent money on equipment that you didn't need. What advice would you give a new business owner about investing wisely in their craft or company?
The advice I would give would be do your research. At the same time you do your research, thoroughly research that and make sure that's the avenue you want to go down. Basically, what Aubrey is talking about is when I was doing, first started out on photography, I know I wasted about $15,000 on equipment I did not need. And it was just trial and error, all because I didn't have that person I can talk to say, hey, what about this? What about that? Everything was me fiddling to try to figure out what worked and what didn't work.
So I'm also hearing maybe go find a mentor, somebody who's a little further along,
Yes.
so they can tell you, "Hey, don't fool with that. That like it's not going to work for what you
Yeah,
want."
exactly.
And that's really so valuable across so many industries. I know for myself as an insurance agent, I started in the industry at age 25 and I bought the company the year I turned 30s. I didn't have much time to figure out what I was doing, but I was very fortunate to have other seasoned agents that I had friendships with who were willing to let me call them and go, "What do you think about this? Have you tried this leads program? Do I need this software?" And that probably helped me avoid spending money I didn't really have at that time on things that maybe not wouldn't have returned on my business. And speaking of money, you've said that you don't chase the money, you chase the art. How has that mindset shaped the way you build relationships and trust within the business community?
I've always been like that. I'm not a materialistic person. And to me, I've always said money isn't real. So as long as you get the money to take care of your basic necessities, so if you're running a business, the mortgage or rent for your location, equipment purposes, and everything else after that, pay your employees. For me, like I said, I never done something to say, oh, I can make this amount of money. My thing is when I take your picture, the next picture I take needs to be better than that previous picture that I took, because in the end, when you look at it, honestly, people are going to pay for your skill to give them the best of what you got. But if I'm focused on the money, I'm taking away from making your experience that much more better.
And that's not to say that we as business owners don't recognize that there is a certain amount of income that has to come in order for us to do what we do.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Most
But
definitely.
like we still have to eat, but
Yes.
I agree with you. My business fortunately is profitable. There's been deliberate decisions to make sure it stays that way. And I want it to be profitable, but it's not just about making a sale and making a commission. It's about taking care of people for us. And you do that as well. You're always out supporting local events and other entrepreneurs.
Mhm.
What does community involvement mean to you as a business owner, and how do you think it's impacted your growth?
Well, just like any other business, in order for my business to succeed, I need other businesses to succeed as well. So it's like a chain in the city, right? So you look at me doing headshots. Okay, I might do this law firm. I might do this insurance firm. I might do these doctors, right? Or I might do this school. But when you look at it overall, if we're not supporting each other, the community is going to fail in some way or another. So you have to support each other, but you just don't support each other blindly. if that makes sense.
Hmm.
So, for instance, the city is not going to come to me to take pictures of the people driving the trash trucks unless they want to give them a certain highlight. But the
Hmm.
city might come to me to say, like, hey, we want these leaders on city council to have pictures so we can use this for XYZ. Rough example, not a good example, but just to validate the point of what we're trying to make here in conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. And we did that work with you too. Like we came to you and said we wanted some photos that just showed how our team cuts up and gets along. We're going to use them on social media. And I think it is helpful for you to know what I want the pictures to be used for so that, you can approach it differently than if I'm just going to put it on a brochure.
Yeah, and
So,
a lot of times that happens when people actually
mhm,
contact me, they'll say something, but yet you're in charge. You just do whatever. No, I need to know what you're thinking so my creative juices can flow to make that work. It's a
right.
team effort. It just isn't you come to me and hey, you make it work. It doesn't work like
Hmm.
that in my eyes.
Hmm. Looking back at your journey so far, what's one lesson that's changed how you lead yourself and your business?
Patience. You got to have patience. In the military, the way it worked was everything was systematic, but it was so systematic, you can plan out at least a week or two in advance. In business, not so much because it can change on a dime, right? Because of the interactions that we have with other business relations can alter the way you do stuff. So if I happen to get one business that comes in and we got to do 40, 50 headshots, that might shut me down for 2 or 3 days, versus if that same company says, hey, we're going to take a break right now. We had an emergency come up. Now I have to shift to do something to make up for that time where other people could not reserve those times for images. So
Mm-hmm.
it's it's very different, but day to day, it's like a chessboard. Whatever somebody else moves is going to alter the way I move also.
Well, you've mentioned that the military taught you not to quit until the bell rings. How
Mhm.
does that mentality show up in your daily business habits?
I feel like I'm a very creative person. And even if I come to you and say, hey, let me take headshots of your team, and if you happen to say no, okay, guess that's not going to stop me from doing what I need to do to make things happen. But hopefully later on down the line, when I come to you, I might not have said my vision for what I'm seeing for your organization clearly to you, for you to actually see the same thing I'm seeing. But you might see me working with somebody else and say, oh, okay, he is very visual. He is very creative. Let me go back and talk to him again and let's see what we can work out. So sometimes it's trial or error, sometimes it's hit or miss. But I know sometimes when I'm talking, my thoughts are moving faster than the words coming out of my mouth, and I might not paint that picture like it should have been, but you might see it in other work that I do. Or if you happen to contact me later and say, hey, we do want to talk about this, whatever the reason may be.
What's your process for personal growth? Are you using books, mentors, routines? What about that process helps keep you evolving as a photographer and as an entrepreneur?
Man, everything you just said, books,
Mhm.
mentors, just talking with people like when I'm out in the community doing stuff. And it could just be a simple conversation. I'm not looking for anything, but when I reflect on a conversation, that might trigger something to go down the rabbit hole for whatever reason. You know,
Mhm.
certain people you talk to, leadership books are important to them. Okay, I might pick up a book just so I can understand their way of thinking, but that might trigger
Mhm.
something in me to say, okay, well, let me find out more about this. Let me dive into this a little bit more. Listening to various podcasts, like listening to people talk within the community, kind of opens up and gives you a little bit more, hey, why don't we try this? Why don't we do this? Just that connection
Mhm.
point. So the growth aspect of it is nothing more than just putting yourself in a room with people and, hey, how are you doing? How can I help you?
Michael, how do you see personal branding evolving in the Carolinas over the next few years?
That's a good question. Personal branding is going to be very difficult over the next few years. And the reason I say that is AI is playing a big part in what people are putting online even today.
Mhm.
So is it something that could push creatives out of the way? Maybe, maybe not. It might can be something that works hand in hand, whereas people are using images, videos with AI, or it could just be something where it's AI just take over completely. But as of right now, I will honestly say AI can't give you that personal touch that a human can. Versus if you do like an AI headshot, you're not going to capture your true personality because it's not a real picture of you, for one. Versus as if you're standing in front of me and then I'll say something to you to get a reaction to capture that image.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the AI challenge, I don't even know if I want to call it challenge. I just think the AI piece of things and how quickly it's evolving, it can be a really fascinating topic. I mean, obviously, we're using AI within our business. I use it every single episode to help me with the editing and even generating interview questions. It just helps me eliminate so much time. But there's so much of it that only works because I put the time into figuring out how to make it be a good tool for me. It's not just going to be able to do what I need it to do all on its own. It still requires nurturing and craft the same way that when you're working with a human, it's just such a fascinating subject right now. And I'm sure
It's
it's impacting your business.
It is. It is. But I don't think it's hurting me because, like I said, I just don't believe people can, get their true personality or get a genuine picture through
Mhm.
an AI process. Now,
Yeah.
I can use AI to help me edit the pictures, but
Mhm.
I refuse to do that because I think it takes away from the image. So everything is hand edited the way we do it,
Mhm.
like we did like 10 years ago. That's how I still edit all the pictures.
If someone's just starting out in business, what advice would you give them about presenting themselves with authenticity and confidence?
Just be yourself. That's a simple answer because when you try to be something you're not, it's going to show and it's going to break down the trust factor. For me, I've always been honest with people. If I can't do something, I will tell you I can't do that. Right. But if you're willing to let me try, I'm willing to try. But the results might not work the way it should be. To answer that question, just to say, just honestly be yourself. Just be your true self. Don't be something you're not.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, I definitely can speak to that to our listeners, especially those that might be local if you're thinking about using Michael's services. He's done my staff's headshots, some of them more than once. And Michael, you actually came to me and said, I really want to redo Josh's headshot.
Yeah.
Because I have learned so much since took his picture the first time. And he loves his second headshot. He liked his first one, but he loves the second one. He feels like it looks more like him or represents him better. So, and that comes with, we talk about that in our business too, like being yourself. Well, most of my staff is pretty green. And so we talk about, well, you have to be honest with the client about what you do or don't know. Like, I'm learning how to do this, and I have the backing of somebody who has more experience because most people will respect that and give you the chance to learn because they all had to be a beginner themselves at some point. And if they need someone who needs more experience, they can be honest with us about that.
And
What do
a
you
lot of times, oh, I'm sorry, go for it.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say a lot of times I know price is a factor when it comes to me, but I have no issues with recommending somebody who can fit their budget. Like your budget might not fit my price point,
Mhm.
but at the same time, I can recommend somebody who your budget might fit along with better.
That's interesting. I thought your prices were extremely reasonable.
I think so also, but still people come in and complain about it.
Well, that's fair. I think it's hard sometimes for people to understand how to put value in the terms of a price tag on somebody's talent and experience. That's a very different approach than my business where the price is what it is. I have no influence over it.
Right,
So, and I get paid what I get paid. I have no influence, or in most situations, I have no influence over that. There's a couple situations where I can go, okay, I can actually go to the insurance company and ask them to give a little less commission to try to make a premium more affordable, but those are very rare circumstances.
right.
What's next for Essential Headshots? What new services or community projects are on the horizon for you?
Well, there's two projects that are down the pipeline that I can't talk about, but
Mhm,
as far as everything else is just preparing for 2026 to come about. Bency Bill, she's doing this Live to Lead talk conference over in
mhm.
Lexington, and that's coming up here next week. And looking forward to that one as well. That's going to be pretty big. Whereas we're doing headshots and then we're actually taking pictures of the conference and the people speaking and everything. So it's going to be something fun and challenging at the same time. But I welcome the challenge because I love the stress and pressure from it, but always how can I showcase what I can do with the camera?
Uh-huh.
So, and
Uh-huh.
that's what the main challenge of that one's going to be. But as of right now, is just getting everything geared ready for 2026. And then those other two projects I can't talk about. And then Bency Bill's Live to Lead over in Lexington on October 16th.
And by the time this episode airs, that event will be behind us. But if she does a repeat conference, you guys can go check out Michael's work and then
Right.
decide if you want to go next year. We'll go ahead and assume it's going to be so successful that she's going to want to host it again.
Yes.
As you grow and collaborate with more companies, how do you think small businesses can better invest in their people, whether that be through professional development, health, or overall well-being?
Um, the one thing it is that if you invest into your company and the employees in your company, you're going to get a better output. Anything from getting education, self-improvement, business improvement, some type of mentorship, within your business, or even a simple picture can do a lot for, the people in your business that makes their output that much more greater for you. I had a conversation with a couple people and somebody actually told me one time they will not have their people get headshots because they don't want the competition to come in and poach their staff. And my reply back was, hey, you don't have to use those pictures on the website. You can use those pictures like on your display floor. So when people come in, they can say, this is the person I spoke with, or I want to work with this person because a visual connection that you might have with somebody before they open their mouth. Or it can just be as something as simple as, hey, they're investing in me and hey, they're helping me build my LinkedIn, right? Knowing that I can walk away anytime because I've always felt like if you were to help the people that work for you to spread their wings better, it's going to come back on you tenfolds anyway.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. The concept of poaching staff, that makes me feel like you haven't established the appropriate trust between you and your team members anyway. People are going to move on to new opportunities. That's just part of being human. But if you're doing the right thing by your team and you're giving them support and the tools to do their job and making them feel like they are contributing to something meaningful, I think that's very important, especially for the younger generations coming up behind us. I don't think it's a poaching situation.
Yeah, well, I
So,
mean, like I say, you
and
never know.
I hope I'm not speaking on somebody that I know personally, since we know so many business owners in common. Don't tell me if I do, but I feel like maybe that's a you need to work on yourself as a leader situation.
That could be it, but like I said, your
But
beliefs are your beliefs. So, like, who are we to judge
and nobody's ever accused Aubrey of not having an opinion on something.
them?
When you work with corporate teams, what do you notice about the energy and confidence of groups that feel truly supported by their employers?
A lot of people are nervous. A lot of people don't like their pictures being taken. And that just tells me a lot of times they had a bad experience with the photographer previous, or that photographer just didn't invest in getting the best image for them. It was two or three pictures next, right? And
Mhm.
then, like I said, it just that can scar somebody in a bad way. I had a friend of mine that works over in Irmo. They did their corporate headshots, but they had to go either to Charleston or Myrtle Beach
Mhm.
to like their headquarters to get the headshots. And the photographer told one person on their team that they were not ready to take pictures of them because they didn't look like everybody else on the team. So exactly. So when you look at it like that, that's why I've always said do your research on the photographer and make
Mhm.
sure you're getting that true representation that you're looking for as well.
Mhm.
Because if a person can't do something that you specifically want, why would you pay for it? You're going to the gas station to get 87 octane, but they only got 106. Hey, that's race fuel. Blow your car up for what reason? But overall, when you look at it, it's just and do the research. Specifically, say what you want, and if the person can do it, if they're honest and they got integrity, they will tell you what they can and what they can't do, or what they recommend.
Yeah. Well, what's one of the biggest mistakes professionals make when it comes to presenting themselves online?
Man, that is from what I've seen is false representation. Everybody wants to be the best. Everybody claims to be the best. But when you get there, how many times have you like, oh, I'm never going to come back here? Or, like when you look at the reviews, like regardless of what field it is, it's just self-reflection and integrity piece. Like where do your values line up at? Are you living your values that you claim to have that presents your form of business every day?
Mhm,
So,
mhm.
like I said, that's one of those, like, you don't wanna touch it, but sometimes you have to be honest. Gotta call the baby ugly
Yeah.
sometimes, you know?
Yeah. Well, and I think that also can be challenging maybe for somebody who doesn't quite have the experience yet that they're striving for because there is that whole fake it till you make it mentality. Well, you do have to show up with confidence that you can do the job, even if you maybe don't have the proof to yourself that you can do the job. So there's a balance there of showing up and being able to work through something and put yourself out there that you can do something. I think that comes back to what you were saying earlier about being yourself and being honest, like telling somebody when you're at the beginning of something, this is a new project for me. I really want to take it on, but we might be learning together. You can do that. You can do that online correctly.
Mhm. Oh, yeah, yeah.
As opposed to putting out there that you have the capability of something that you have no idea yet if you can do.
Mhm.
Yeah. How can small business owners use their team's professional images to build trust and cohesion with their clients?
Man, well, first of all, you can do it on your website. Their personal business pages, like their LinkedIn and social media, because a lot of businesses do have the Facebook pages. And then the organization can use those same images or video clips as social media feeds and to help you learn about who Josh is, who Carol is, who's Aubrey.
Mhm.
But there are so many ways you can just get creative with it, and the possibilities are endless. It's just you just have to open the door to your mind and just get creative with it. And it could be, like we said, a social media post. It could just be an explanation through an email or a billboard of some such, a simple write up. Call me, let's talk. Yeah, like I said, the possibilities are endless with that one. But however you portray it, just make sure you live those values to make it work.
Well, on that note of call me, let's talk. Michael, would you tell our listeners how they can connect with you both online and on social media?
Yes. If you want to call me, you can call me at 803-237-6. If you want to email me, you can email me at Michael, Michael, at ESNTLheadshots.com. If you want to go to our website, you can visit our website at essentialheadshots.com. And if you want to follow us on social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram, you can do so at ESNTL Headshots.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Michael. Before we let you go today, do you have any other pieces of advice for somebody who has the desire to start a business and is maybe making a pivot like you were doing coming out of the military? What would you tell that new entrepreneur?
It's never a wrong thing to invest in yourself, but at the same time, you invest in yourself, do the research, and just don't think your thought or your dream can work. You have to apply yourself to make it work. Just simple, just read books, talk to people, and then come up with a plan and put it into motion.
Excellent. Thank you so much for your time today, Michael.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to the Carolina Business Leadership Show. If you found value in today's episode, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss future conversations with business leaders across the Carolinas. And if you know someone who would be a great guest or a business owner who needs to hear this, share this episode with them. If you're in North or South Carolina and need help with health, life, or Medicare insurance, our team at Lifetime Insurance Agency is always here as a resource. We'll see you in the next episode.